How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. Today we're going to talk about why you should be buying probably about $200 worth of Bitcoin right now. And we're going to go through a lot of the market news too. I'm going to segment it up so that way you can see the top news today. And if you're watching this in a few days, you can go skip ahead to the why you want maybe $200 worth of Bitcoin right now. If you don't mind, hit subscribe, turn that bell notification underneath the video. I will say too, I have something super exciting coming out here very soon. Like, I am so pumped to be able to unveil what I'm working on to you guys. I think it's going to be awesome. And I've literally been working on it for hours here today. So pumped up about it. So be ready for that. So hit subscribe so you can see that and get first access to it probably later this week, maybe early next week. In the meantime, if you like this hat that I have on right now, they're actually running a 20% off campaign. It's called End of Summer 20. That's the code that you can put in. All you do is add it to your cart. You can scroll down on this page, look underneath the video. There are different links. One's to this hat. You can actually see the picture. And it's right below the description for the video before the comments. And you can get this for 20% off. So definitely check it out if you're interested. Otherwise, let's get into it. Bitcoin is up a little bit here today, up 0.3%. The whole cryptocurrency market is up here today. And this is interesting because there's been a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt on Twitter. Overall, I talked about this yesterday, how we could fall further down, but I take this as a reason to buy. I think this is good if we fall down. However, we did move up, which is also nice to see. In one way, you get it something good either way. If we go up, great, you're worth more. If you go down, well, great, you can buy more. Now, I think this is really due to the overall markets doing quite well today. Part of that is just because CPI came in. Now, it's going to blow a lot of people's minds why the market's up today, because we actually had headline come in higher than expected, 3.7 versus 3.6. Previous was 3.2. So we're seeing CPI go up. Core is also going up. It was at expectations, but this is worse than most people thought. The last 5 months, CPI has come in under expectations. Now it's coming in hotter than expected. But this is the reason that we're actually moving up today, is because there's less of a chance now that we're going to raise at the next meeting. You can see yesterday there's about a 92% probability that we held rates steady. Now there's a 96% probability. Now, why is that? Well, it's probably just because there was uncertainty, right? We could have had a higher reading. We could have had 3.8, 3.9, something like that. But instead it came in at 3.7. So if there's a 10% probability that we came in at 3.8 or 3.9, well, that would have caused us to go into the 25 basis point hike mode. But that didn't happen. It was just slightly worse than expected. So it pretty much locked in that we're going to have no rate hike at the next meeting. So the market likes this. Obviously, it doesn't like the CPI, but it likes that we are almost certain to not get a rate hike next week. Now, this did increase the probability of the next meeting actually having a rate hike just slightly. So instead of a 58% chance that we hold steady, now there's a 57% chance. So you win a little bit, you lose a little bit, but overall the market seems to not really mind this a lot, which a lot of this is just due to gasoline becoming much more expensive and energy. We'll have to watch PPI tomorrow, but overall, the market obviously, like I said, likes it. Now, Binance US has some big news. CEO steps down amidst second round of layoffs. Apparently, they're laying off about 100 employees, which they said, or at least several places have said, that's about 1/3 of their workforce. So they're cutting a ton of people. Binance continues to say that they're growing, continues to say that they're hiring, yet Binance US is firing. Now, maybe that's just because Binance US is getting sued, but I don't know. It sounds fishy. The Binance US CEO has not tweeted in like 5 months. I would not think that this is bullish for Binance or Binance US. Now, this is where you have to be a little bit careful. I've said 1,000 times to take your crypto off exchanges unless you're just trading, because you don't know what's going to happen. Now, Adam Cochran says he's been saying if Binance blows up, we'll be fine in no time. However, he got a tip that makes him think that this could be much worse, a much more painful ride than he thought, if it's true. And life behind bars for ZZ would be a good outcome. Like for him, that would be one of the better outcomes. He sent the tip to some journalists who can probably confirm if it's real, and he'll keep us updated. But in good faith, I had to redact my will be fine stance and replace it with will probably be okay unless the other part is real, in which, holy crap, we are going to zero and going to have to rebuild up again over time. Always fun times in crypto. Now, that sounds really bad, right? We don't know if this is true. And if it kind of comes out but isn't completely true, we might have a dump, but that might be the time to buy. That could be the last shakeout before the next bull run. Keep in mind, none of this affects the fundamentals of Bitcoin most likely, right? It might just be really good for a lot of institutions to get in heavy towards the bottom and then start pumping it like crazy. Don't be surprised if we get another shakeout, something with Binance or something with some other exchange. Again, I was debating even putting this in here because this is unsubstantiated. I don't know what this is, and I don't want to scare people out of their investment. Again, this is where a diversified portfolio comes in handy, so that way you can stomach these kinds of tweets. Typically, this brings fear to the market and people sell. Keep in mind, this is who you have to invest against. This is who you're fighting against. This is from Joseph Carlson, and it's actually about the stock market, but it applies directly to crypto. This person says, I bought Apple at its height and now I regret it. I bought Apple stock at $195.60 this year. I literally bought it, and 1 minute after, it crashed back to around $184. Now it's $176, and I don't know what to do. The bulk of my active portfolio is in Apple. My salary is very low, and it takes me a while to save up $4,000. Tim Cook just permanently destroyed $500 of my hard-earned salary. Even if Apple rises back again, the likelihood it will raise above 200 is really rare, and it will probably take 2+ years. Remember, I bought 18 shares of Apple at $195. Should I just cut my losses? I should just sell all my Apple and put it into something like a NASDAQ ETF. This is the average person you have to invest against. This is who you have to invest in against in crypto. Someone that bought at $31,000 and now they're freaking out, wondering if they should sell. They're the ones that are selling, most likely right now. And I think this is bullish, right? These are the people you have to invest against. This is why most investors don't outperform the market. There are so many things that are wrong about this. First of all, the person was buying at an all-time high for Apple. He said 1 minute after he bought it, it crashed to 184. Sounds like he put all his money in at one point. He says, my salary is very low and it takes me time to save $4,000. He basically put $4,000 in. He says, Tim Cook just permanently destroyed $500 of my hard-earned salary. First of all, it's not destroyed. You still own the same shares that you bought. You were willing to pay for them. Just like if you bought Bitcoin, you were willing to pay for it at $31,000. You thought it was a good value. And he's blaming Tim Cook for it. It's like blaming someone for selling in cryptocurrency. Someone selling caused you to lose out on your money. That's not a good way of thinking about it. It's not Tim Cook's fault. It's not whoever's selling fault. It's your fault if you buy and you don't realize it can go down. He says even if Apple rises back again, the likelihood it will rise above 200 is really rare. That is not true at all. Look at Apple stock. Look at Bitcoin, right? Any asset. They can move really quickly. Apple went from 150 up to 190 in a few months. Tesla went from 100 to 250 within a few months. You can move up very quickly on good fundamental news. If anything, this should be where someone takes the time to go and buy more, right? Figure out a way to earn more money. Figure out how you can put more money in. And they say $200 is really rare and it will probably take 2+ years. I don't know where they're getting those numbers. Like I said, it can be very quick. And should you just cut your losses? No, you shouldn't just sell an asset because the price went down. So obvious. But this should be bullish. If you're watching this and thinking the same thing I am, which is that, first of all, this is really sad that they don't know any of the stuff that we're talking about and that they want to sell. Or if you think it's hilarious. Either way, I think this should be very bullish for you because you get it. Other people don't, so you're going to win over time. A couple other things, and then we'll talk about why you probably want a couple $100 worth of Bitcoin now, Elon Musk, along with Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates, are on Capitol Hill today for an AI forum. This is Elon. He's looking happy. I will say the Palantir CEO, Alex Karp, right next to him too. Good group of people on this panel. Obviously, Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates also big into AI as well. So hopefully they can actually talk productively and Capitol Hill will listen to them. And then just something hilarious. You know how we covered the $510,000 single Bitcoin transaction fee just a few days ago? It was PayPal that did that. So even if you're a huge company, you can still make mistakes. So just like I said, and I've said in previous videos, if you're going to do a transaction or you're going to move crypto around, something that's like harder than just buying something on Coinbase or on some DEX, pay attention, go sit in a quiet room, make sure that you're well rested, do all that stuff to make sure you don't make any stupid decisions like this. Imagine if this was you. Let's say you had $1 million worth of Bitcoin and you're trying to send 10 grand worth somewhere, and then you pay a $510,000 fee. You could just mistype something and boom, you lose $500,000. This person probably fired after that. That's not good. Now, why do I say you want $200 worth of Bitcoin now? Well, obviously, depending on your own situation, this might be not enough. This might be too much. I don't know your financial situation, but I kind of feel like I should start including this to keep people thinking long term, right? Not just focus on the day-to-day of Bitcoin, but if you dollar cost average into Bitcoin and you start with $200 a week, I realize that's a lot for some people. That's 10 grand. That's 10 grand a year. But if you're super bullish on Bitcoin, if you have a good salary, maybe you can do this. If you accumulate for 5 years, starting 5 years ago, and we're not talking about like when Bitcoin was $1,000 or $500 or something like that. Bitcoin was more expensive than that back then. And this is only going 5 years back. So, I mean, we're talking about when Bitcoin was $7,000 after it was coming down from the all-time high back in 2017, 2018, and then goes down to 3,000, then goes back up to 11. So you're just riding out the bear market, kind of like we're doing right now. You go through this like 50% drop, almost 50% drop, and you go from 25 grand to then just a few weeks later having $12,600. So you're weathering the storm. You just keep on adding, keep on adding. At the peak, you have $235,000 with Bitcoin. Now you still have $97,000. You put in about $52,000. So even through a bear market, even when Bitcoin's come down now 70% from the high, 60% from the high, you're still up 87%. So if you just continue to think long term, you're going to do just fine, right? You would have about 4 Bitcoin, which is more than most people have. That's a significant amount of Bitcoin. And you just bought 10 grand a year for 5 years. You put in 50 grand, you have almost 4 Bitcoin now. Obviously, depending on your own situation, you can put in different numbers, but this would mean that, again, you have about 100 grand, which is life-changing money for most people. And even if this isn't life-changing money for you now, think about the next bull run. Think about when we get up to inevitably $100,000. You would have about $400,000, which is enough to sell and go buy a house, to fund your retirement. If you have that at 30 years old, 35 years old, you could probably even just sell that. If you want to be really risk averse at 400 grand, you could sell that, put it in an S&P 500 and be all set to have millions of dollars in 20 or 30 years. Now, let me know your thoughts on all this underneath the video. Of course, you have to do your own due diligence. This is kind of an arbitrary number, right? $200 weekly. Maybe you can afford $100,000. Maybe you can afford $2,000 weekly. I don't know how much you want to invest, but obviously that's going to determine how much you get in the end. Now, I continue to say that I think dollar cost averaging is the key. Of course, you can do dollar cost averaging on steroids. If we fall down quickly, let's say right now we're at $26,000. We fall down to $21,000 overnight. Well, maybe you want to buy more. Maybe you want to put in a significant amount and just kind of take from your future self a little bit and invest more because you think that Bitcoin's not going to stay around this level forever and you're willing to put in more then. Maybe that's a good opportunity. I think when we do see moves of 10+% in a day, I typically add more. I don't do a strict DCA strategy anymore. So when we fall down, I do eat up Bitcoin a lot faster. Now let me know your thoughts on all this underneath the video. Thank you so much. Again, if you want one of these hats for 20% off, again, Bitcoin is Freedom Hat, pretty sweet, and has the established date of Bitcoin on the back, the first block date. You can check out the link underneath the video. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.